verse 72. Yadi satyam bhaved vishvam
यदि सत्यं भवेद् विश्वम्
sushuptavupalabhyatam
सुषुप्तावुपलभ्यताम्
yannopalabhyate kinchit
यन्नोपलभ्यते किञ्चित्
ato satsvapnavan mrusha.
अतो स्वस्वप्नवान् मृषा.
Yeah. So this is the part where we are looking at some logic here, helping ourselves to some logic, because it has never hurt to think, right? Yeah. And that too, to think properly is a great blessing. It doesn't hurt to think. So we are using the thinking cap here. This is called Shruti Anukula Yuktihi. Yuktihi means logic that is in keeping with the teaching. And so here it says, and I said this last time, is that Yadi Satyam Bhavet, Satyam, if the truth, if the universe is real, correct? Real means what? That which never goes away is real. Then it should also be available to you in sleep. Is the universe available to you in sleep? No. Correct? So supposing if you have, let's say you go to the market, bed sheet shop, right? And then you say, I want only this color bed sheet. Blue, yellow, green. Everybody has their favorite bed sheet. And for children, they want some, Superman, Spider-Man, whatever, some comic things on them, some, big prints. This is the whole saga of bed sheet. And then you sleep inside this bed sheet, correct? You sleep on the bed and then the second sheet is to cover up. Then what? Eyes are also covered up, then you go to sleep. Do you see the Superman?
No.
Do you see the green color, yellow color? And maybe it is made of satin or silk or flannel or checks or stripes. Do you see anything? No? So the sheet is Upalakshana here for universe. Upalakshana means a small microcosm of the universe. And same thing, everybody is so worried about pillow thickness and this has to be like this and like that and everything like that. And then they give the example of that grim fairy tale, Princess and the Pea. So there were all these fortune hunting people that were wanting to marry this prince, and so the father set a test. All the prospective brides have to spend one night in our house. So underneath 9 or 10 soft mattresses, one dried hard pea was kept. And then everybody said, and then the next morning over breakfast they were asked, how did you sleep? And these prospective brides, they were so happy having a big palatial bedroom and nice, wonderful, bed. They said, very well, your majesty. Get out of here, the king would say to each one. Get out of here. And finally the last one said, this place is horrible. I couldn't sleep at all night. You see, I have bags under my eyes and they're all red for lack of sleep. It's all your fault. Your servants must not have looked properly. There's a rock under my bed. Even if you take this extreme example, so finally they go to the room and then the little pea is revealed and then he marries her to his son. Big mistake, but anyhow, that's what I think. So, extremely spoiled. But anyhow, that's why it's a fairy tale. So even if this is true, even let's say it's not a fairy tale, there are people like this, and they are not able to live in Hollywood, maybe, because they're used to all these wonderful things in life and they cannot sleep without certain things and all that. Until when does it matter? Until they cannot sleep, correct? Yeah. But once you sleep, it doesn't matter if you're on the floor or if you're, in a hammock, or if you're under 10 soft mattresses, or if you're, it doesn't matter. Once you're asleep, the universe collapses. So therefore, it gives rise to the very controversial truth. It's the truth, but it's controversial. As long as one is mired in this non-reality, it is controversial. And it gives rise to this truth. What is this truth? Does the universe have an existence apart from me? What is the answer? It cannot. It cannot. Because just like when I say, is there the sound of the redwood falling, without me to say, this is the sound of the redwood falling. Sound implies observer of sound. Otherwise, how can it be called sound? Correct? Without, the observer, whatever that is, whether I call it noise or sound or whatever it is, it cannot be called sound, because sound implies hearer. Sight implies seer. Anything implies an observer. Anything that is not self-revealing, that cannot advertise itself, implies an observer. I am aware of this. In fact, when I look at the universe, I am aware of the universe. The universe is not aware of me. The rock doesn't say hello, when I walk. The rock doesn't say, you rock. It doesn't say that. I have to say, this is rock. This is tree. Tree actually we cannot even count, because tree has life. But other, so-called insentient things, it's not that they are insentient. We don't have that distinction at all. Everything is consciousness. But in certain upadhis, in certain bodies that have a subtle body, sukshma sharira, the consciousness is able to express itself, is self-aware. It's aware of itself and it's aware of other things around it. And so this distinction is what in the science is called sentient and insentient. We say the whole jagat is chit. There is nothing jada, nothing insentient. But the difference is that the sentiency finds expression only in certain beings or certain forms. Certain names and forms alone the sentiency finds expression. So similarly, now in sleep the universe is not there. Correct? No galaxies, no stars, no black holes, not even the bed sheet. So what to talk of black holes? Nothing is there. And so therefore what, even the body is not there in sleep. Right? But one can argue, and this is where we had left off last time, is that doesn't matter if it's not there in sleep. When I wake up, this body is available to me, correct? And it was the same body that went to sleep. It's not that somebody else went to sleep and this body got up. That would be interesting. But that is not what is taking place. This body went to sleep, and then the person living in this very body awoke, which gives rise to a kind of a false complacency about there being a favoring of the waking state over the sleeping state and the dreaming state. This is exactly where we had, left off. So, in relation to the sleeping and waking states, in relation to the sleeping and the dreaming states, I say the waking state is real. Correct? Yeah. Why? Because in dream everybody can win lottery. Right? Anybody can win the lottery. You can dream up. You can say, okay, so many millions, and somebody is calling the number, 25, I have that. 27, I have that. 8, how many groups of 8? 6 groups of 8. Okay. That was the last class. I have 8. 9, 16, I know that number very well. So like this, you have imagined that you have won this big jackpot. And then, and you go and claim the prize. And you collect the prize, right? And then you wake up. Can you spend that money? Where did it go? Gone. Right? So in sleep also you don't even know what happens. So sleep is useless. And the dream is only useful for interpreting and discussing over tea with the family members. That's all it is. And then after that it has of no value, because the currency earned in dream you cannot spend in real life, in this so-called real life. Right? And so what this verse is asking us to do is go one step further. Are we ready? That is the question. What is the truth of the waking? The waking state is also as flimsy as the dreaming and the sleeping states in terms of its reality, in terms of what its reality is. Because when the universe is negated in sleep and then manifests in the waking state, why do you take the waking state to be the real standpoint from which the other two are evaluated? Why? Why do you have to do that? And what is it that is making us prioritize the waking state? The only thing that makes us prioritize the waking state is that there is no other form of awakening that I know. So I take this to be the ultimate awakening. But it is not so, really. Because there is a being, a conscious being, which is occupying the waking state with as little, change in occurring within its sentiency as the dreaming or the waking states. This is what in Sanskrit is called Turiya Avastha. Turiya means is short for Chaturiya, the fourth state of awakening or awakenness, awakening, awareness. The fourth state it is called. Why? Because it is seen as the truth. It is really not a fourth state. This is where a lot of people make mistakes, even teachers. Then you have to attain one more state. Already I am, in a state about attaining the fourth state. How to attain the fourth state. And if the fourth state is like 1, 2 and 3, then that means 1, 2 and 3, like, Russian roulette, keep going according to probabilities. Sometimes I'm asleep, sometimes I'm awake, sometimes I'm in the fourth state, sometimes in state number 3. Oh no, state number 1. I have been demoted. So this way, one is, it's just all random. These fourth states is one. If the state number 4, so called because it is seen by the ignorant mind as the fourth state. If the fourth state is really one more state to attain, it will become limited. It will become finite, because when the fourth state is there, then 1, 2, 3 are absent, correct? This is how it would be. And if 2 is there, but this is what happens. Can you be asleep and awake at the same time? Don't say yes in a Vedanta class. No. Can you be asleep and awake at the same time? It's not possible. Can you be dreaming and awake at the same time? Kind of. They call it lucid dreaming and whatnot, but it's more of an aberration, a special occasion rather than a reality all the time. You can't be sleeping and waking. You can't be sleeping and dreaming either. Those are two different states. And so similarly, then the fourth state when you are in, this is the idea that it's a thoughtless state. It's not a thoughtless state, it's a thoughtless mind that has thought of it as a thoughtless state. Yeah. What is this thoughtless state? If it's a thoughtless state, then don't think about it, okay? Really. That is my request. The fourth state is not a fourth state. It's the truth of the 3 states. It's the content of the 3 states. It's that reality because of which this I can occupy the 3 states. That is the content of all the 3 states is the fourth states. Because the waking is not completely real, because like we said in the verse, it is overtaken by sleeping. It is replaced by dreaming. Then again you wake up. So the one who says, I am the one who slept. Like I said, somebody else didn't sleep. I alone slept. Who owns up to the 3 states, that is the fourth state, really. I am the waker, because one is observant of the fact that one is awake. If I ask the question, are you awake? What will you say?
Yes.
Yes. Who is the one saying yes?
I.
Who is this I? The one who is the one who is observing the waker. Correct? Not just the waker. The waker is not just saying yes. The one who is observing the waker, yes, may be identified with the waker. The one who is observing the waker is saying yes. That is the fourth one, really. It does not negate the three states. It's not the fourth state, some kind of a Brahman state, they say. It's not some kind of a state that displaces the state, all these three states. It does not displace thought. It cannot displace silence. It is the truth of thought. It is the truth of silence. It's the truth of waker, dreamer, and sleeper, which is that I, which is the observer of all three. Without this I, the dreamer, waker, and sleeper cannot be. So, in other words, that formless, nameless I, which lends its sentiency and its existence, satta and spurti, to the three states without undergoing any change. That is the fourth state. That is the ultimate awakening. So, awakened to that, the waking state also seems like another dream. Yeah, that is what is being talked about here. The waking state is not prioritized. Here, when I am awake to the truth of myself, then the waking state, then everything that happens in it and all the things that I participate in, they are not falsified necessarily. It's not that you have to deny that it is happening. That's a form of self-denial. But even when I go through the motions, I am aware of the truth of myself. So then, what does that mean? Because everybody is interested in day-to-day life. This is Vedanta in day-to-day life. So you are going, you're coming. So again it's the as though going, as though coming. So knowing full well that I am not moving, not undergoing any change, I participate in actions, as though duties, as though engagements, as though appointments one keeps, without getting affected by them. This is what is called the awakening. So awakened to that truth of myself, these three states, the waking state also, where I spend most of my time, I do not identify with it totally as the ultimate thing which is happening, that is the ultimate reality. Because if that were the case, if the waking state is the ultimate reality, then the sleep would not displace that. But the sleep displaces that. In fact, one forgets all the grouses and grudges and resentments that one had before going to bed is forgotten by next day. That's why they say sleep over it, don't act. Because chances are when you sleep over it, a forgetting comes. That's what happens. And this is the whole understanding that this birth itself, which is like a separation from this fourth or the awakenedness of oneself, into what? Into taking the waking state as the reality. Waking state is just Maya really. Turiya is going beyond Maya. That's what it is. So, this is what the birth itself, which happens because of this separation. And the separation is called the self-ignorance. So it's almost like a retracing back to the source. Like a river. Sometimes, the river is flowing and then you see the bend which is like a horseshoe. It's almost like going back to its source. And where that bend of the river takes place, it becomes a holy site in India. The confluence of two rivers become a holy site, and the river taking a bend back to itself becomes a holy site, and the river entering the ocean finally also becomes a holy site. And all for different reasons. The confluence is because it's like the journey of life. It's everything happens together. There is a meeting point. It's the confluence, the oneness. And the river facing itself means it's like the journey of this jiva who is adrift, flowing aimlessly back to oneself. That's why it is celebrated as a holy site. And when finally the river meets the ocean, it becomes a holy site because the ocean is seen as Ishvara, Bhagavan, and the river is the traveling jiva who finally finds, because that is the journey of the river, the ending journey of the river. And the starting point can never be found. You try to find where the river Ganga comes from. You'll go crazy. Keep going higher, higher into the Himalayas, and then finally what? You need an oxygen tank, that's all. You don't know where it comes. You don't know where it comes from. When people say Gangotri, Gangotri means the source of the Ganga. Source of the Ganga, as far as we know. Then people go even further than that. Then you have to go here, go there. Same thing, you take Yamuna river, then you finally have to, I suppose you have to trace it to a glacier, but it's all very hidden. You don't know that. So similarly, the jiva, this pilgrim which is adrift, making this pilgrimage back to oneself is what? There is no source. Anadi. Where did I come from? Why am I ignorant? How did this ignorance come to be? Where are the answers? Nowhere. Yeah. But the truth is, one can drop this ignorance. When? After death, right? No. Here and now. Now. Now I can drop the ignorance, and now I can, do this in this life itself. Like the river facing itself, I can really face the truth of myself, which is that I am neither the waker, nor the dreamer, nor the sleeper. I am that which inhabits these states, which is free of all these states. I don't need to be the waker. And even though in the waking state all the transactions take place, and therefore it seems more important than the sleeping state, which is a transaction-less state, but even between the two states, which is real? Everybody will say, of course, the waking state is real because that's when I go to office and that's when I have a headache and that's when I am a headache for other people. One can prioritize the waking state, but really speaking, if there was no sleeping state, can the waker perform? No. So really speaking, how do we evaluate which is more important? Really, one depends on the other, and now they are finding out that without dreaming also you cannot perform. So each, you have to have that, what is that? REM sleep, REM, the rapid eye movement sleep. And what is this rapid eye movement sleep? You just watch cats and dogs sleeping. They will be going like this. That is the eye really moves, and the eyeball also moves, and that is what produces the dreams, that are conducive to the dream state. So then how can we say that the waking state is real even among the three without the sleeping state, which everybody says is useless? That's why everybody is drinking some energy drink. I don't know what that is. Energy drink. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. Why? Because I want to keep awake. And then what? I can't sleep. So what will you do? I'll take a sleeping pill. This is what it is. You need some uppers and then you need a downer, and it's just all really, it's just a big, huge confusion. So back to this. So here again we cannot, even on the base reality, on the Vyavaharic reality, on the transactional reality of these three states, we cannot prioritize the waking state because all the transactions take place in the waking state. It is more real. Really speaking, the sleeper, in other words, contributes to the waker, correct? Yeah. Similarly, the Turiya, the one who is awakened to the sleeper, waker and dreamer, contributes to all three without being affected by any one of them. That is the one that is the true I. That is the I we have to get acquainted with. Yes, this is the one to get to know. This is what we try to get to know also in meditation. This is the I that I get to know, the one who is awake to the three states. And this is why, otherwise what will happen is that we get mired in the effects of this universe, which is the projected Maya, which is the projected Shakti of Ishvara. The Shakti means the power. We see the deluding power, the covering power. We see the projecting power, Avarana and Vikshepa. And then one gets caught up in the projecting and the deluding power. And then nowhere can, in this mired in this, it's very difficult to trace, walk back to the I. So this is what is being said here. It's an invitation to really wake up. It's a wake up call. Next one. Atah prithak nasti
अतः पृथक् नास्ति
jagat paramatmanah
जगत्परमात्मनः
prithak pratitistu
पृथक् प्रतीतिषु
mrisha gunahivat
मृषा गुणाभिवत्
आरोपितस्यास्ति
आरोपितस्यास्ति
किमर्थवत्ता
किमर्थवत्सा
अधिष्ठानमाभाति
अधिष्ठानमाभाति
तथा भ्रमेण.
तथा भ्रमेण.
So it's concluding this before going into the Mahavakyas. It's concluding this sentence, which is what? Ataha, therefore. Therefore what? Therefore, because of all this that we have discussed for the last few weeks, therefore, prithak means separate, na asti is not separate. What? Jagat, the universe. From what? Paramatmanaha, fifth case, from Ishvara. So the Jagat is not separate from Ishvara. The Jagat is not separate from that which which created it. But then, immediately the hand goes up. Which hand? Purva Pakshi's hand. Who says? Purva Pakshi means the one who is doubter, objector. And this person says, but. The universe looks separate from the creator. It doesn't look the same as the creator. Don't you see it is separate? And the answer is that let it look separate. Even the rope looks separate from the snake. Even though the two are what?
The same thing.
What?
Rope.
Yeah, exactly. I was hoping nobody will say both are snake. Both are not snake. Both are what? Rope. Rope is of course rope. Snake is what?
Snake.
Rope. Snake is not snake. Did you just say that? So snake is also rope. Correct? There's only one thing which appears as a rope to the jnanis, to the ones who are rope aware. Correct? And then the same rope appears a little slimy and slithery and with three bends to the ones who have aropa, rope ajnanam, who have rope illusion, delusion, rope ignorance. So for the rope knower, the rope appears as rope. And for the rope ignorant person, for the person, besotted with rope ignorance, the rope appears as
Snake.
a snake, worm, whatever. Very different varieties of snake. Crate, cobra, viper, that tuck, that rattlesnake, all of them you can see on the same rope, correct? Yeah. Depends on one's own fears and desires that one is projecting onto this one thing alone. How many things are there? One thing. What is that? Rope. Yeah. So that is the answer. Prithak pratiti astu. Astu means let there be different ways of looking at the same rope. That doesn't deny that it is a rope, correct? Guna ahivat. Guna ahivat means like the rope over the, like the snake over the rope. Let there be manifold perceptions of this rope. Let some people think it's a snake. Let some people think it's a green snake. Let some people think it's so many different kinds of snakes. But all there is a rope. Just like that one rope can be the site of aropa for various snake perceptions, so too this Jagat, which is non-separate from the Creator, which is really a manifestation of the Creator, gives rise to all kinds of notions of being separate entity. So like the snake is not separate from the rope, the Jagat is not separate from its Adhisthana. I have spent a lot of time discussing Adhisthana. What is Adhisthana? The truth of that which we are talking about. So the truth of the Jagat, the Adhisthana of the Jagat, Ishvara. So this is what. So we don't go with perception, because the perception will always be very tricky. All we have to do is take this glass of water and put a pen inside. What will happen to the pen? Yeah, it's called refraction. It bends. And then you have to take the pen out and then put it on a level thing and use a hammer and straighten it out. Correct?
No.
Because you put it in the water.
No.
The bending is a perception. Because of the light rays, when they pass through water, they have certain changes. It creates a certain illusion or changes in perception. Like that way, there are so many illusions. You know, people, you are asked to focus on one dot, and then after a while the dot disappears. Is it really disappears? No, it is there. But then something happens in the way they have studied the eye, how it focuses on things and what happens, etc. And sometimes you can see a moving object and it will be moving clockwise, and if you look at it long enough, it will also start moving anti-clockwise. Depends on which eye you are looking at it from, which is the dominant eye. That's what they say. So like this is putting the pen in the water or the pencil inside the water glass is an optical illusion. After that, nothing, the pencil has not undergone any change and you don't need to straighten it out. Correct? So similarly, that the Jagat is many is an optical illusion. Is an illusion of what? Of my own misunderstanding or non-understanding. And so therefore it shines in a certain way, and it is mrisha. Mrisha means that is false, just like the pencil in the glass of water. It is just a appearance at all. It's an apparent reality. It is not the truth. And then it says aropitasya, of that which is superimposed, what reality does it have? So if you say the snake, which snake? Rope snake, he is very sad. So what are you, oh, that's too bad, the rope snake is sad. Yes, it is very sad. What are you going to do? I'm going to take it to a therapist. Which snake? Rope snake. Correct? And so then what? Then I took it to the therapist. And then 50 minutes later, because that's what they will see you for, 50 minutes. And then 50 minutes later, they say 1 hour, but it's 50 minutes. And then 50 minutes later, it became happy. What? The therapist became, no, the rope snake became happy. Now this is just an exercise into, it's called, what is that? It is called wool gathering. This is gathering wool means spinning all kinds of, stories from one thing to another, And we saw this even in the Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya. What happened? The son of a barren woman who was never able to have a child, and this is before surrogate motherhood and, artificial, all those things, test tube babies and all were not there. This is a long time ago. So this is the son of a barren woman came, having freshly bathed in the mirage waters, correct? And then wearing a flower born of the sky creeper, right? Yeah. And then what did he do? He sang praises, in a language that wasn't there, to an Ishvara yet to be discovered. Something like that it is that, Khe Pushpa Shekharaha. So adorned by this sky flower. and snatah, in the mirage water, bathed. And so you see, you can keep on building this love story of this young man, and he met another lady, and then they both lived happily ever after. And they had many mirage children. But it doesn't make it, just because you're spinning a tale, it doesn't make it any true, correct? Just because now this mirage, what is that? The barren woman's son has now a whole biography and a history and a genealogy, doesn't make it true. You can go into genealogy.com and trace his family tree. It doesn't, because the whole thing is a lie. So similarly, the Jagat, which is the what? Self-ignorance, which gives rise to the understanding or the missed perception that the Jagat is real, that itself is wrong. And so in this Jagat, all the things that happen, today sad, tomorrow happy, today this, tomorrow upset, today okay, tomorrow sad, all these shifting, fleeting feelings are like the city of clouds in the sky. If you keep watching the clouds, you can do that when you're traveling on the plane. You open the window and watch the clouds, and then you see one looks like a big teddy bear, and then another one looks like a lion, the third one looks like a human being. So pretty soon you can build up a whole universe of clouds. So see, and that doesn't make it, just because you name all of them, doesn't make them real, correct? So here also, you name everything that you own, dog, cat, pet rock, everything has a name. This is all Mrisha. It's because if one is not awakened to that which is the source of all this, everything will become real, and when the unreal becomes real, then one becomes sad. This is what happens. Because the reality is missed. One becomes either sad or afraid. So for example, if you don't know that it is a rope, then you become frightened of the rope snake, correct? Yeah, even after it has gone to therapy. Then it will be filled with confidence now. Yes, I can bite. That's what I'm meant to do. I'm not mean enough, that's my problem. Actually, I didn't make up this story of the snake therapy. There is an ancient story like this. You want to hear that? No, why not? So, the snake was, biting everybody and making a nuisance of itself. It's just like, some people, some snakes are, they just are biters. But this one just thought it was alive to bite. So whoever passed, whoever moved, anything that moved, it would bite. A lot of people died, a lot of people succumbed to its venom, and a lot of people were just really, upset. Because even if they survived, it's just a nuisance to have this snake around and biting all the children and biting the adults and biting everybody. So ancient India had its own way of dealing with things. Here probably they would have taken a club and, given it instant moksha. But there they called a holy man instead. And the sadhu looked at the snake, and in those days there were interspecies dialogues possible. So he said, "Yo, bro," he's talking to the snake, what's your problem? He says, "I just like to bite," the snake said. "Don't you see you're harassing the whole village? And they feed you, because we have a snake festival where you put out, it's called Naga Panchami, and then you put out milk for the snake. And you put it out right on your doorstep. And you feel very blessed when all the snakes come and drink the milk. And the prayer is, leave all the children and the babies alone. I'll give you, it's a contract. It's an annual contract." So then, the sadhu pointed out, see, don't they feed you milk and other things? And aren't you bound by this holy contract? You're violating it, you're, doing all this. So he gave the snake a therapy session. Said, "You must not do this. This is not good. What are you doing?" And then he went away. And then what? And then the children came near it, and then the children dragged it around, and the children made it into some kind of a rope that they could, now here is the story of a snake that was made into a rope. Very sad. And the snake was flung by every, it was the target of every urchin's catapult, and every child and every adults were stepping on it. And then it says, oh, I have made a promise to this holy man, I can't bite. I am in a terrible state. It was almost on its deathbed, and it thought and it prayed to the holy man, I need another therapy session. Something is not okay here. And the holy man came and said, oh my God, what has happened to you? You need a massage. What has happened to you? You're all beaten up. And the snake said, I don't have, at this rate, I will just be gone. They treat me like a rope. They tie me up. They tie me to the tree. They throw me here and there. They just don't treat me like a snake at all. And you told, why haven't you bitten? Well, you told me not to bite. And then the snake had to have another therapy session, because the holy man said, I told you not to bite, but I never told you not to defend yourself. That's what the fangs are for self-defense, not to harass people. So that is how then the snake became a snake back from the rope that people had mistaken it for. So you see, the other way around is also possible. And snakes can have therapy, okay? Not rope snakes, but real snakes can have therapy. So Mrisha gunahivat aropitasya kim arthavatta. Aropitasya, for that which is superimposed, what is there? What is the meaning of that? It doesn't have a meaning separate from the adhisthana. All that shines is adhisthana alone. But then we take the aropita, we take the snake to be real because we do not know the rope, and therefore what? The ignorance of the truth of the Jagat makes me take the Jagat to be real. That's all it says. Makes me take the Jagat to be true because I do not know that its truth is I. The observer is the one who's lending the truth to the Jagat. It's not as real as the observer. And since the observer is mired in self-ignorance, then everything that is unreal appears to be real. More we'll see that next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.